Welcome everyone, this is Kerjims channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of True Semi-Reality Champions and Comparison, featured by Wild League, League of the Legends versus the Mobile Legend Bang Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon. You will be notified to our new next episode video. Let's do this!
Sona is our newest support champion. She excels at buffing her teammates and controlling her lane. Her 3 main abilities have an active effect as well as a passive aura that stays on until 3 seconds after she casts a new ability. With enough cooldown reduction, you can keep all 3 auras on your teammates. Sona's passive, Power Chord, gives her next basic attack significant bonus damage after every 3 spell casts. Hymn of Valor damages 2 nearby enemies on activate and prefers to target enemy champions. Its aura is blue and gives ability power and damage to her and nearby allies. I get 1 point early and max it last. Aria of Perseverance heals herself and the most injured nearby ally when cast. Its aura is green and increases her friend's armor and magic resist. I max this ability first. Song of Celerity has 2 movement increases. The aura is purple and gives her and all nearby teammates flat movement speed, while the activation briefly gives an additional boost. I get 1 point at level 3 and max it by level 13. Sona's ultimate is Crescendo. It's a skill shot line move, making enemy champions dance in place while taking damage. I use magic penetration marks, mana regeneration for level seals, flat cooldown reduction glyphs, and flat ability power quintessences. My masteries are 9-0-21. I make a point to take increased gold gain and neutral buff duration and utility. Clairvoyance and Flash are my summoner spells. Flash will help keep me alive, while Clairvoyance is just awesome for support. Wait about 10 seconds into the game, then Clairvoyance the enemy summoner platform. This should tell you where your opponents are headed, as well as their starting items. It might just give you that edge you're looking for. Starting with Mana Manipulator and Hymn of Valor, you want to abuse your early game damage output. Always cast your 3 spells while in base to charge Power Chord. Then, just use the brush and Sona's excellent range. Even against Tarek, I'm able to consistently harass Ashe. While laning, you should try to use Clairvoyance to spot for enemy junglers. Here, by revealing Rammus, we can gank him at Golem. Also note the Clairvoyance position. I reveal 2 camps by placing it between them. I recall at 1150 gold, so I can buy Philosopher's Stone and boost his speed. Turn on Song of Celerity when running back to lane. You'll get there faster. Sona with Clairvoyance is also a great asset when attempting Dragon. Alistair can see bottom lane and Misfortune can see mid, so I Clairvoyance the main choke point above us to check for a gank. However, I should have placed it half a screen to the left. This would allow me to see enemies coming from mid tower as well as from Golem. Sona does not have powerful escape tools. Her heal, while low cooldown, doesn't replenish a lot at once, which makes gank scenarios very difficult for her. Also, because slows divide all movement boosts, Song of Celerity is far from a get-out-of-jail-free card. I should have used Clairvoyance on the river while we pushed. I've bought Magi's Soul Stealer and a new item, Kindle Gem, on my way to the new support item, Shirelia's Reverie. I buy Magi's because I can rack up assist while staying out of danger spamming my abilities. Shirelia's Reverie builds from Philosopher's Stone and Kindle Gem, and can haste my teammates on command, as well as giving me cooldown reduction. We head to Dragon and find Rammus. Level 2 Song of Celerity just barely allows Anivia to get into range for Crystallize, giving us a nice kill. Sona is frail in teamfights. By looping around to the top, I made myself available to Rammus' taunt and then Tarek's dazzle, allowing V to chop me up. Compared to Soraka, who can burst heal for upwards of 800, I have to make sure I position well and buff my teammates, staying out of the center of attention. Here's why Shirelia's Reverie is awesome. Master Yi is chasing Misfortune with Highlander. However, the burst of speed from Reverie keeps her away. I also bait Yi by saving my heal until he gets back into range of Misfortune, making him think she can still be killed. The last items I get this game are a Blasting Wand for Zhonya's Ring and the remade Enervating Locket, which is cheaper and adds cooldown reduction, but gives allies less health and mana than before. Combined with runes, masteries, and Shirelia's Reveries, I have 40% cooldown reduction and a ton of mana regen, allowing me to toggle all 3 auras repeatedly in any battle. You can see from my score that farming minions is not a strength for Sona, but she excels at getting to and supporting any battle, giving me a full 20 stacks of Monetize and farming a lot of gold.
As you see, Sona doesn't have too many interesting interactions with other characters, but the few lines she has are really cool. For example, here she is talking to Rai, and the artifacts and the world are of course the world rules. And the reason why Sona has an interaction with Rai is because as Riot continues on their quest to make all of their cinematic scanners, that means that Sona did meet Rai at some point during her lore. Of course, as I said, her lore is still old and it will be updated, but I assume that the core parts will stay the same. Sona was an Ionian orphan who was adopted by a rich Demacian who really liked her instrument, which is called the Etwa. And so now, even though she is mute, and even though she is technically a mage, who is releasing magic when she's playing, and that's why she is charming people, she is still in Demacia. But there, nobody realized that Sona is actually a mage. Anyway, the point is, when Riot met Sona in the Call of Power cinematic, now we know that Riot is trying to make it canon. And because there they attacked the Navori Brotherhood, I wonder if this means that Sona will get back to Ionia. But it sounds unlikely, as you'll see from the other line.
Oh, is the Grand General a fan?
Once again, we don't have the subtitles, but the Grand General is Wayne, so that's who she's talking to.
The world is cruel. Until that changes, I'll never stop playing.
And this is a reference to Sona's lore overall. With her magical music, she's almost able to control people. At least on the emotional level, she's able to calm people down. So what I assume is going to happen in Sona's new lore is that using her magical music, I think that Sona will try to calm all mages down to stop the civil war. But that's just my guess.
And where has Rise been? Hunting for more world-ending relics?
And here Sona has another line against Rise. But this one is interesting because here Sona seems to not believe what Rise is doing. I don't think she believes that the world runes can really end the world.
The tempo changes, and so do we.
As you'll see in the other lines that we get, there seems to be an overall theme where Sona keeps talking about people changing. I think that might be part of her new lore as well. Maybe she is trying to change people. Just remember this because we will get back to this later.
We're both a long way from home, Xinjiao. Rest easy.
Of course, just like Sona, Xinjiao is Ionian. And let's be honest, Demacia is quite far away from their home.
Magic is like a song. It's woven into everything. Waiting.
And that was a confirmation that what Sona is doing is magical. She controls magic using her instrument.
There's so much pain in Xinjiao's heart. Why?
Well, we know why. Xinjiao was the personal guard of Jarvan III. But when the civil war erupted, although Xinjiao wanted to stay by the king's side to protect him, which was his job, the king sent him away to deliver a message to the Mage Seekers to stop fighting the mages and end the bloodshed. But before Xinjiao was even able to deliver the message, bells started ringing in Demacia because King Jarvan III died. So the reason why right now Xinjiao is depressed is because his job was to protect the king no matter what happens. But the king ordered him to go away. And so, when the king died, Xinjiao suddenly didn't know if he failed the kingdom because he did not protect the king, or if he did the right thing by following the king's orders. Perhaps if he went against his own king, Jarvan III would still be alive.
This is no ordinary instrument. More like an old friend.
In the old lore, this instrument, again called Etva, was taken away from Sona when she was young, but then when she was adopted by the rich Demacian, they got her the instrument back. That's why this could be an old friend.
Sorry, Garen, but I can't help if I'm locked up.
And this is the reason why I don't think that Sona will be returning to Ionia. Because since she's mentioning that she can't do anything if she's locked up, I assume that she's imprisoned in Demacia, along with the other mages. So you know what? Maybe I was wrong, and maybe people actually know that Sona is a mage. But more importantly, if in the new lore Sona ends up being imprisoned, that would tie her lore really well to all the other alternative universes. Because in case you don't know, in the Odyssey universe, where Sona has a lot more lore than in the canon universe, there Sona was imprisoned by the villains. Because she is the chosen child who has the ability to control aura, which is the primordial power of the universe. That's why in that skin she had an aura orb in front of her. However, in the new Psyops universe, that is now on PvE, there Sona was also imprisoned. As far as we know, she was like a super weapon, and somehow she escaped. We don't really know the details yet. But with these two alternative universes, it would make sense for her to being locked up in the canon universe too. That's why I really like this line.
My music warms old souls and soothes hardened hearts. It is my greatest joy.
Once again, a reference to what Sona is doing with her magic.
Did he want 4 autographs? I don't understand.
Again, no subtitles, but I assume this is a line against Jin. Which is interesting because not only is Jin also an artist, but also because Sona was one of the people that were used for Jin's teaser. For context, now we know that Riot just used random characters to tease Jin. So technically, I don't believe that Jin actually met Sona nor Garen. But who knows, maybe on their quest to make everything canon, Jin will somehow end up in Demacia too.
Don't worry, Lux. One day, our kind will be free.
And yes, this is a reference to the fact that Lux is a mage as well, even though she is a Demacian.
Art bridges the gaps between people. Government, not so much.
Of course, this is a reference to the fact that Demacia as a government is not really working out. And that's all because of the mage civil war.
A crown guard and a mage? Wouldn't want to be her.
Once again, she's talking about Lux.
It's good to see Tarek hasn't changed. And bad. It's both.
See, and this is what I mentioned at the beginning of this video. Sona is often talking about people changing, which might be the overall theme with her. And here she has an interaction with Tariq, because Tariq used to be Demacian. He technically still is, but now he was turned into the Targonian aspect of the Protector. With the new lore dump on Universe, Tariq got his bio updated as well, but there just tiny details got tweaked. He was still a Demacian in the Demacian army, who was training besides Garen, and Tariq's squad died probably because he left his post, which technically marked him as a deserter. And his punishment wasn't death, because Garen wanted to give him a chance to live, and so Tariq was sentenced to die by the Crown of Stone, which is a ritual where Demacians send their deserters to Mount Targon, and they make them ascend the mountain. Most of them die there, but on the very rare occasion, such as the case with Tariq, they succeed, they climb up, and magical things happen. So that's why Sona is talking about Tariq changing, because he was a Demacian, but as he climbed the mountain and he turned into a Targonian aspect, Sona mentioned that he did and didn't change. Because yes, he did change into the aspect, but he didn't change because his personality stayed the same.
Why won't Jarvan out? All it would take is a single decree.
And this is a follow-up to the story that happened after Jarvan III died. Because the message that Xinjiao was supposed to deliver to the Mage Seekers to end the civil war, it eventually ended up in the hands of Jarvan IV, the king's son, who now became the new ruler of Demacia. However, although we still don't know how Jarvan III died, we know it happened after the mages started the war, so that's why everyone assumes that Jarvan III died by the hands of a mage. And that's why, when Jarvan IV learned that King Jarvan III wanted to stop the civil war, Prince Jarvan burned the message so that no one would know. So now, Jarvan IV is thirsty for revenge. That's why he does not want to stop the civil war. Mages killed his father, and so he wants to avenge him by killing them all.
I don't think Ionia will be rushing to invite me back.
And this line is almost a confirmation that Sona will get new role, because this is almost a cliffhanger. Now I really wanna know what Sona did in Ionia, and I wanna know how did she end up in Demacia. Perhaps she wasn't adopted by a rich Demacia.
Is that Aurelia? I haven't seen her since the restoration.
And here I am not entirely sure what the restoration would mean. The only thing that shattered in her story was the sigil of Irelia's family. The shattered family crest are the blades that Irelia is now using as a weapon. But those didn't become restored. So I wonder if this is a foreshadowing of something happening in Ionia in the future. Perhaps the restoration could be the Ionians finally pushing Noxians away.
Silas, he hasn't changed, and my answer is still no.
Once again, Sona is talking about Silas changing. Although I'm not sure why he would change. Maybe she's referring to the fact that after he got out of the prison, maybe that was supposed to change. But regardless, Sona's answer is no, because she is a mage and Silas would ask her to join his rebellion.
When fields lie calm and winds stand still, run home.
And this is honestly the coolest line Sona has. And you may be wondering, why? It sounds like a totally random line. But it's not. This is the proof that yes, even Sona's voice lines were written by Jared Rosen, the guy who wrote all the demonic lore of Runeterra. Because this is where the voice line comes from.
When fields lie calm and winds stand still, run home. When fields lie calm and winds stand still, run home. Run home.
Yes, Sona is singing the folk song about fiddlesticks.
Fiddlesticks? But the songs, they can't be real.
And this line makes it even better. Because even though Sona is singing about fiddlesticks, she herself did not believe that fiddlesticks was real. And that's why this is so cool. Even though Sona seems to be a pretty powerful mage in Demacia, even she is oblivious to the greater evil in the world. And it just gives us such a good setup for Runeterra.
Am I supposed to know this person? Is he a fan?
And here I am really sad that we don't have the subtitles. Because I would really love to know who she's talking about. Lux had a similar line against Ezreal. Because even though Ezreal talks about Lux a lot, Lux doesn't seem to remember him. So from her point of view, she has a voice line where she's wondering if she is supposed to know Ezreal. And I think something similar is happening here. So that's why I'm wondering who we think that Sona was supposed to meet. But in the lore, he didn't. I think Jin would be the obvious answer, because they are both artists, and in Jin's teaser, he fantasized about killing Sona. And yet, in the lore, Sona and Jin never met. So perhaps, that would be Sona. But it is really sad that right now, we simply don't know who that is. And that is it for Sona's voice line. Honestly, Fiddlesticks made this entire thing so much cool. But yeah, there are a lot of references to the fact that Sona will most likely get a new lore soon.
빨간 팀의 포탑이